Good morning. Welcome to this segment of Can We Talk, where we talk about being church. Of course, this is Labor Day weekend, and I want to take this opportunity to wish all our workers a wonderful day of rest and enjoyment with their families, and trust that you are being blessed abundantly in what you do, and that this weekend will be safe for you. Also, I want to mention that this coming Saturday, we're having our annual Blue and White Mass, which honors the responders, such as the firemen and policemen and the medical folks. It happens to be on September 11th this year, which is the anniversary of 9/11 and that catastrophe, that attack on the United States that occurred a few years ago, where the responders, such as the firemen, the policemen, and the medical folks, did such a fantastic job. And we honor them for it, and we honor the ones that are in our own communities as well. So if you have an opportunity to come to the Mass at the Cathedral of the Blessed Sacrament in Altoona this coming Saturday, please do so, to honor our men and women who are there for us. I have with me today two lovely ladies who are involved with the Cursillo movement. They are co-directors, co-lay directors of the Cursillo movement, and I'm going to ask them what that's all about. Welcome. Thank you for being here. We have Miss Joanne Semko,
yes,
and Mrs. Barbara Bundy. You're both from which parish? Or you're different parishes?
No, we're both from St. John the Evangelist in Lakemont.
St. John the Evangelist in Lakemont. Well, that's part of Altoona.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. Let's start by asking you, and you telling the folks, because I already know, but what is the Cursillo movement?
The Cursillo movement is a movement of the Catholic Church. It was started in Spain in the 1940s by Eduardo Bonin, and it was started as a movement to help people live out their Catholic faith. And it's based on the idea of piety, study, and action. Each person who is a member consciously performs acts of piety and studies the Catholic Church and asks the Holy Spirit what would he have them do for action to bring forth the church, to live in the church. And the movement is all over the world now. And we have group reunions. The group reunions help everyone to, encourages them through friendship to share piety, study, and action, to witness to Christ in their life. And we meet monthly in meetings called Altrayas, where we come together with other Cursillistas and also witness to what Christ is doing in our lives.
I may get to some of those in more in depth, but Joanne, does the church need movements like this?
In my opinion, yes. I don't, you know, when we look at our churches today, look at what's happening in our diocese here with the closing of churches, where we've had to consolidate, we've had to close. We obviously need people to minister to each other. Our priests, our religious, they can't do it alone anymore. At one time when we had an abundance of priests and religious, that was a different story. In today's world, everybody, the church belongs to all of us, and I think all of us need to witness to each other as to what Christ is doing in our lives, how we can live a Christ-centered life in the world that we live in today. And I think it's very, very important that we minister to each other and help our religious in their ministries.
Now, Barbara mentioned piety, study, action.
Yes.
What specifically do those things mean? Those are words to our people, and they might say, well, what is that? Well, what did they talk about?
When we talk about piety, we're talking about the things that we do to enrich our lives each and every day in the church. Things like, are we saying our prayers each day? Are we going to masses? Are we, celebrating the Mass in a full and complete way? Study involves formation. So often in the church today, we think that we go from baptism to confirmation, and we're finished. No, we're not. When we become adults, we need to learn about our church from that adult point, that adult point of view. And that study, that ongoing study, is what helps us to do that. We study through books, we study through group reunions where we're talking about the things we're working through, we study through classes and things of that sort. And the action basically is another word for evangelization. You know, going out into our communities, evangelizing where we work, where we play, where we eat, everywhere.
And basically evangelization, first of all, means setting a good example.
Exactly.
Living who you are. How'd you get involved? I'm going to ask Barbara first. How'd you get involved? Why'd you get involved in the Cursillo movement?
I got involved because a friend of mine invited me to go on a Cursillo weekend. Her name's Betty Peshock, and she became my sponsor. And she explained the movement to me and said it starts with going on a weekend retreat. And there, Cursillo is another word, a Spanish word for short course. And so on the Cursillo weekend, it's a very short, very intensive course in our Catholic faith. And I felt after that called to be really involved in the movement. And in the 1980s, my husband and I were co-lay directors also of the movement. And so that's how I got my start.
What does that mean, co-lay director? What do you do?
Well, most areas have one person as lay director, but we find the job...
You direct the whole the weekend?
No, it's the diocesan church. We are the lay directors for Cursillo.
For the whole diocese.
Right.
We have a chaplain, don't we?
Yes, Father Norm Ingram.
That's what I thought, yes. Joanne, how did you get involved and why?
My introduction to Cursillo is basically the same. Cursillo is a sponsorship.
Isn't it pretty much for everybody?
It is. It's a friend inviting a friend to do something and accepting the offer. And that's what happened. Actually, mine was one of my best friends in high school was her mother, Emma Baylock, who requested that I go on a retreat. And I readily accepted. I had been on retreats before. I loved them, I enjoy them.
They don't tell you what the retreat's going to be like.
You know,
so you got to kind of have some trust there.
In the olden days, they didn't tell you.
That's true.
Today, under our leadership, we ask the people who are sponsoring to tell them about the whole retreat.
Really?
Right.
Tell them everything that goes on from start to finish.
I didn't know it, because when I made it years and years ago, you just kind of whisked away.
Well, that's how it used to be, but we ask them not to do that anymore.
No.
No, that makes it a little difficult.
If they have a question they need to ask, we will answer it.
That's good. Because I was going to ask you to explain to our folks if anyone feels like they just need this extra push, this extra shot in the arm in terms of their faith, and think that maybe the Cursillo would do it, and maybe even know somebody. What's the first step that they make? Supposing nobody ever asked them to do this. Now, some people get invited, but supposing nobody ever thought to invite them. Can they do something?
They sure can. The first thing we'd ask them to do is talk to their pastor, who we would hope would know about the Cursillo movement, and tell them where to go. If they're uncertain of that and they don't know of anybody, we do have a website they can go to, which is very easy to remember. It's just www.ajcursillo.org. And all the information about Cursillo is contained on there. It's a wonderful site. And on that site, if you just go to the webmaster, just write them a note and say, we're interested in Cursillo, can you tell us something? We'll find out what parish they're from. We'll find Cursillistas from that parish, get them together so that they get to know each other, and eventually one will sponsor the other, and off we go.
I'm going to ask you, Barbara, first of all, and then Joanne can add to that if she wants. I'm always afraid, and this is a known fact among the clergy, that I feel this way, that I'm always afraid that movements tend to be divisive. Now, so my question to you is, how does the Cursillo movement, and I know it does, but how does it help the parish life?
It helps the parish life by helping the individual person to be a better Catholic.
That's good.
And invites them to become a leader in the church, a lay leader. And through their sharing their friendships, they're really encouraged and given the courage to do lay leadership in the church. And so therefore the church is built up through the individual being a stronger Catholic.
You have anything to add to that?
I was just going to say, it's just like we do with our children in school. It's by example. They see the example of good Catholics living a good Catholic life. They see the example of how they live in the church today, how they live in the world today, and it gives them the courage and the encouragement to become more fully active in the church. At least that's what we found in our experiences throughout the years.
Right. Often at the end of a Cursillo weekend, people say, I didn't know there were so many other people who feel like I feel.
Yes.
It's like finding your family. And it brings such joy to everyone.
And you have some retreats planned?
Yes, we do.
You had talked to us about those?
We have a very interesting retreat coming up. It's the first time we've ever done it in this diocese. It's being held at the end of September up at Bethany Retreat Center, actually, because we needed a place that would hold.
Where's that?
In Clearfield County, Frenchville. We went there because of the size. We need about 100, 120 beds, which we couldn't find around here. But it's a unique retreat, and it came about because of us listening to the Cursillistas in the diocese. Throughout the last 4 years as co-lay directors, we've gone to all of the Altrea areas. We've been speaking with them, talking with them, and everyone says we need renewal. We need to be enriched. So we started out 4 years ago with some mini retreats with Father Mark Begley at St. John's in Lakemont. He did a wonderful job. We had 35, 40, 45 people coming each time. And that spread and got bigger. And they continued to say, we want more of that. So this retreat is called The Many Faces of Christ. And we plan on talking about the many faces of Christ in the Altoona-Johnstown
wonderful,
diocese.
wonderful. Now give us a date again.
It's September 24th, 5th, and 6th.
And that's in Frenchville. Now, if they want to be a part of that, they can, again, contact their pastor or a diocesan office or the website.
Or the website.
Yes. And are there any other events because we've come to the conclusion of our time here, are there any other events that you're planning that you want to mention?
Our regular Cursillo retreat for the men will be, here's my paper, October 21 through 24.
Yeah, so the men have their own, the women have their own. You do it separately.
Right, yes, we do
But
it
the one in
separately.
Frenchville is going to be for?
It's combined.
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 Now, the regular weekend is for the men coming up?
Right, October 21st through the 24th.
Where?
And that will be at St. Anne's in Ebensburg.
Okay.
And the women's is November 4th through the 7th, same place.
Same place.
St. Anne's in Ebensburg.
It might be interesting to mention, too, that we actually have Cursillo movements in some of our state correctional institutions.
Yes, we do.
Because I know that.
Yes.
When I go there, yes. Well, I appreciate your being here this morning.
I appreciate
to
you.
share
Yes.
with our viewers what the Cursillo movement is all about. And I know it's done some very, very fine things for our church, and I'm glad that you're continuing that. And also, I'm glad to see that there have been some changes made for the better, I think. So,
absolutely.
So thank you so very much. I wish you well in those retreats, and especially that special one. That should be exciting. Thank you for watching this morning.
Thank you.
May the Lord shower upon you an abundance of signs that point to his favor in your regard. Many blessings. Good morning.
To receive our monthly TV newsletter, write proclaim.